Good afternoon. Welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Economic Development and Regulatory Services Committee for today, which is June 19th. I've been joined by council members Fletcher, Ellison, and Cunningham, which is a quorum of our committee. I'd like to start by moving the items on the consent agenda. This includes item number 9, which are the liquor license approvals for today. Number 10, the liquor license renewals for this cycle. Item number 11, which is the business license approvals, and 12, which are the business license renewals. Item 13, the gambling license approvals. Item 14, the gambling license renewals. Item 15, which is a rental license, or actually a rental hall license. Item 16, which is operating conditions for BJ's Lounge. Item 17, which is a license settlement conference for Stadium Bar and Grill. Item 18, which is the local plan and subsequent designation for the Minneapolis Workforce Development Area. Item 19 is local approval of a liquor license at 4959 Penn. 20, local approval of a special liquor license at 3753 Nicollet. 21, local approval of a special liquor license at 4500 Penn. Item 22, which is setting a public hearing, and item 23, which is also setting a public hearing. Are there any items anyone would like to pull off the consent agenda, which is items 9 through 23? Seeing none, I'll move approval of the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those items are approved. We'll move on to our public hearings, starting with item number 1. Ms. Roberts, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, item number 1 is for Tinto Cucina Catina LLC, doing business as Tinto Kitchen. It's located at 4959 Penn Avenue South in Minneapolis, and they're requesting an upgrade of their license from an on-sale wine, strong beer license to an on-sale liquor license with an indoor expansion of premises. As you just mentioned, there's consent agenda items that we're talking about our special law approval to allow for this business to upgrade to an on-sale liquor license in an area that is less than 7 acres. This application will not change, and business plan won't change, besides that they will be offering full on-sale liquor beverages at their restaurant. The expansion of the indoor expansion is just to a lower level of the business to allow for private dining and for a waiting area. The public hearing is required for that an increased license, and notices were sent to businesses and residents within 600 feet of the premises. We received 6 opposition notices stating that there was concerns about late noise and loud noise from patrons and traffic, and we received 28 responses in favor of this business in a community. They were saying that it was a nice neighborhood, vibrant establishment that served the community. Lead inspector Julie Casey reviewed the minimum qualifications for this application. There are some pending final inspections for the expansion that need to be completed for building permits, but that is pending and will be managed, and so at this time we're making a recommendation to approve the license.
Are there any questions for Ms. Roberts on item number 1? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 1, which is a license upgrade for Tinto Kitchen at 4959 Penn Avenue South. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Sure, either one.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Ellingworth Penisham, the owner, and I want to thank my neighbors that came here in support. This has been an incredible move for us. I love our neighborhood, and not just part of a business owner, but we've become friends with everybody and a family really to the neighborhood. So thank you.
Thank you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
So we're a Latin kitchen, originally from Mexico City, and we serve the best tortillas you'll ever have. So
Great.
we have good tacos.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Steve Young, 3844 York Avenue, south of Minneapolis. I'm with Arbor Commercial Group. I own the building, and I just want to be here to express my support for this business and their expansion of the liquor license permit.
All right, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fletcher.
I'll move approval.
Approval has been moved of item number 1. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 2. Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 2 is for Smokehouse Brew Pub LLC, doing business as Northbound Smokehouse Brew Pub. It is requesting a license for permanently expanding for a sidewalk cafe of their on-sale liquor license, Sunday sale with Class D license. So the seating in the outdoor area on Sidewalk Cafe will include 8 seats and with a capacity of 8. So very minor expansion. However, it still requires a public hearing. And public hearing notices were sent to residents and property owners within 300 feet of this establishment. And lead inspector Mohammed Ishmael reviewed this application to make sure it meets minimum standards, and Public Works reviewed it and is making a recommendation to approve this license.
Are there any questions on item number 2 for Ms. Roberts? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 2, which is a permanent expansion of premise. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Ryan Flannigan, 3137 Harriet Avenue here in Minneapolis, Minnesota. I've been the general manager there at Smokehouse Brew Pub for a little over 5 years. 6 months after we've opened, I was brought on board to do this. So as you said, very minor expansion. We already have a very large private patio, but this just kind of helps us to continue to be part of the neighborhood. It was something that a lot of the neighborhood had wanted more patio, and it was our very small solution to that.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here today. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Ellison.
Madam Chair, I'll move to approve this item.
Item number 2 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on to item number 3. Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 3 is from the applicant Sage Client 265 LLC, doing business as AC Hotel Minneapolis downtown. The address is 401 Hennepin Avenue in Minneapolis. They currently hold an on-sale liquor license, Sunday sales with Class B, and the purpose of this application is to permanently expand an outside courtyard area that is on private property. It is an expansion of 440 seats with a maximum occupancy of 942. Which is a sizable for that location. There's a public hearing required for this expansion. Property owners within 450 feet were noticed for this expansion. We received no responses. There are some final inspections that need to be completed at this site. There is a requirement of a payment of SAC charges, and also they need to be in compliance with some zoning regulation about coverage of windows. And based on those being completed, Lead Inspector Michelle Harvette is making a recommendation to approve at this time.
Are there any further questions for Ms. Roberts on item number 3? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 3, which is a fairly large expansion of premise for an outdoor seating area. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record. Perhaps you could address the reason why your windows on Hennepin Avenue are covered.
Sure, and I actually just met with the Brian Turwin, first of all, from Madigan, Dahl, and Harlan. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I met with the general manager of the location this afternoon. I was unaware of the window tint issue until about 11 o'clock this morning, but they will work with the city of Minneapolis to rectify that issue. The sizable expansion is, I'll call it a permanent expansion for temporary use. What they're looking at doing in, say, the summer months is to, if they have maybe a wedding reception that wants to hold some part of the event outside, that's why they have the interior courtyard that right now is exclusively for vehicles, and they would expand the premise to include that entire space so that if they elected to for an event like that, they could take chairs from the inside and move them to the outside during the summer. So
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for being here today. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Fletcher.
I'm happy to move approval.
Approval of item number 3 has been moved. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. On to item number 4, Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item number 4 is from the applicant, the Lynn Hall LLC, doing business as the Lynn Hall. It's located at 2638 and 2658 Glendale Avenue South, and it currently has an on-sale liquor license, Sunday sales with Class E entertainment, and they're requesting an upgrade to Class C2. It's because this business routinely hosts weddings and social events, and they are looking to provide or allow to have more entertainment there. Since the opening of this business, that temporarily expands their entertainment to allow for this now, we have not had any complaints. There's a public hearing requirement to permanently expand it, and notices were sent to property owners and residents within 300 feet of the premises. We've received 2 responses in support, and Lead Inspector Julie Casey is making a recommendation to approve this license at this time.
Are there any questions for Ms. Roberts on item number 4? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing on item number 4, which is an upgrade to on-sale liquor for the Lynn Hall. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Annie Spaeth, and I'm the owner of the Lynn Hall. And I don't know if there's much more I can add other than that business has dictated that we are asking for this request as a way to not inundate you with these nonstop requests for musicians for that purpose. So thank you.
Thank you for being here today. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Ellison.
Madam Chair, I'll move approval.
Approval has been moved of item number 4. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move then on to item number 3. Who is giving that report, Ms. Roberts?
Number 5.
I'm sorry, item number 5. Sorry.
Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson. Evelyn Covery from the Health Department, and I'm here to speak about the proposed ordinance to amend the current mobile food store ordinance to allow for parking on city streets. To provide some background to this issue, the lack of access to healthy foods is a significant public health problem for some neighborhoods in Minneapolis, and specifically this has been asked for by the Nokomis East neighborhood in South Minneapolis. The U.S. Department of Agriculture Economic Research Service states that almost 1 million residents in the Twin City metro area live more than 1 mile from a large grocery store, supermarket, or supercenter. Mobile grocery stores are one way to increase access to healthy foods for Minneapolis residents, and they fall under the current mobile food store ordinance. Currently, the ordinance states that mobile food stores can only park in private parking lots, and that they must not operate within 100 feet of a licensed grocery store or farmer's market without express permission of that grocery store or market. Of note, there are only 2 current nonprofit organizations that have the mobile food store license, and that is the Twin City Mobile Market and the City Kid Mobile Farmers Market. The proposed amendment change would allow mobile food stores to park on the streets when in compliance with all ordinances, regulations, parking zones, and posted signage. This ordinance change would have language that is similar to mobile food vehicle vendors, better well known as mobile food trucks. This change would greatly increase the visibility and access of mobile food stores to individuals in the Twin Cities that are living in areas of limited access to healthy foods. We've worked closely with our partners in business licensing and public works and have not identified any potential issues with this ordinance change. Let's see. So public notice of the proposed ordinance change was sent at the end of May, and we received 2 responses, both in favor of the ordinance.
Is that everything?
That's it.
Okay, great. Are there any questions for staff on item number 5? Seeing no questions, thank you for your report. I will open the public hearing on item number 5. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon. I'm Becky Tim. I'm the Executive Director for Nokomis East Neighborhood Association in Ward 11. Our address is 4313 East 54th Street. We're here in strong support for the ordinance change. We appreciate the partnership with the Twin Cities Mobile Market and the Minneapolis Health Department. We've been hosting market stops since May and they come every other week, and the neighborhood loves it. It's very popular. When we surveyed last year, we found that people want to eat healthy, but access to food and the cost of food are barriers, and the mobile market surpasses those barriers. So thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, thank you. I'm Beth Dooley. I live at 2322 Oliver Avenue South, and I'm also a food writer and an executive member of the Food Council and the former co-chair of the Food Council. And I just wanted to come in and relay the message that the Food Council really supports the changes in this ordinance, supports the work of the City Council and the mayor and the staff in making it easier to grow, process, distribute, and consume and compost healthy food. The Homegrown Minneapolis Food Council supports the amendment to allow for parking on public streets in addition to private lots, because, as you've heard, lack of access is a significant problem in some neighborhoods in Minneapolis, and both the price and the distance create barriers to healthy food. The proposed amendment would expand the locations where mobile food stores, such as the Twin Cities Mobile Market, are allowed to park, which would help raise the visibility and accessibility of these food outlets for Minneapolis residents. So we thank you for supporting the proposed amendment to this ordinance and further strengthening the ability of people to get really good, healthy food. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Dooley. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Please step forward, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Jessica. Jessica Cortel. I am from 5746 Sander Drive. I'm also a board member at NINA. I think it's a very, very good thing. I think the ordinance has been very helpful in the last few weeks that it has been at our community. And I think this is the type of proposal that we should be encouraging. And as a resident, I feel like I can speak for all the other residents that this is something that we really want to have happen here, and we want to have continued. It's been very helpful for our community, so I ask that you please support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. I see the author is here, so I would like to give him a chance to speak. Councilmember Schrader.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you so much for having me here today. I can't stress enough just how excited I am about this and what this is going to mean for the Boston community and the families that live there to expand the healthy access to food in this area. I also just want to extend my sincere thanks to staff and to the Nokomis East Neighborhood Association that worked so hard to make this happen. I urge your support, and we'll stand for any questions.
Thank you for being here today. Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take a quick moment to speak in favor of this this ordinance because I actually had the good fortune. I was a youth worker at Wilder Foundation while Twin Cities Mobile Market was coming to life through Wilder. And so I had the good fortune of really seeing behind the scenes how big of a demand there was. In my ward, in the 4th Ward, our food desert has been significantly alleviated by North Market, which has been a huge success. But there are still many, many folks in North Minneapolis who do not have access to fresh, healthy food. And so I got to see this slowly rolling out, and I can't tell you how exciting it is to see it now in Minneapolis and to see the city stepping up and saying that food access is important to us. Thank you to Councilmember Schrader for this. I love your passion and excitement for this. I know how much this means to your community in particular. And so just wanted to speak in support and say thank you for your work, and to staff as well.
Councilmember Schrader. Councilmember Cunningham, would you like to move approval?
I would be happy to.
Thank you.
I move approval of the passage of ordinance amending Title 13, Chapter 295, relating to business license regulations around mobile food stores.
On Councilmember Cunningham's motion to approve, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Thank you for being here today. We'll go ahead and move on to item number 6. Ms. Shaw, welcome.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and members of the committee. You have before you a request to pass a resolution allowing for the adopting and levying of an assessment for property assessed clean energy or PACE energy financing for the North Loop Campus project located at 620 Olson Memorial Highway. North Loop Campus has requested energy financing to install a solar array on their roof. The rooftop solar project is estimated at $625,000. The St. Paul Port Authority has approved financing for a term of 10 years at a rate of 4.5%. St. Paul Port Authority will finance the project, and then the city's assessment will pay back the loan. As a result of this project, the North Loop campus will experience a 66% decrease in their annual utility bills and will reduce potential CO2 emissions by 5,549 metric tons a year. And if you have any questions about the project or the program, I can answer those for you.
Are there any questions for Ms. Shaw on item number 6? Seeing none, thank you for your report. We'll open the public hearing on item number 6, which is a property assessed clean energy PACE financing deal for North Loop Campus at 620 Olson Memorial Highway. Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Anyone? Wow, they didn't show up? Ah, okay. Anyone else to speak here to this? Anyone? Anyone? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Councilmember Ellison.
Madam Chair, I will move to approve this item.
Item number 6 has been moved for approval. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll then move on to our quasi-judicial portion of our meeting, starting with item number 7. Mr. Magrino, welcome.
Good afternoon, Chair Goodman and committee members. I'm Nick Magrino from Regulatory Services. This case is it's straightforward, but also a little bit complex, so please let me know if you have any questions as I'm presenting here. The property involved in this action is 5420 44th Avenue South, a single-family home owned by SIGA LLC. The respondent in this matter is Sigita Kapaka, and they applied for a rental license to operate the property as a rental business in September 2017. The property and the former owner of the property have a complicated history with licensing and inspections. Property's former owner, Margot Capex, went through a rental license revocation for a different property located at 3324 23rd Avenue South. That revocation was related to illegal occupancy and was ordered by the City Council in May 2015. Mr. Capex appealed the action to the Minnesota Court of Appeals, which dismissed the appeal and upheld the revocation in October of 2015. Mr. Capex applied for a rental license for the property at 5420 44th Avenue South, this property, in March 2016, and that was denied by the city due to Mr. Capex's previous revocation action within 3 years of the application. Mr. Capex filed an appeal of the denial, which was ultimately ordered by the City Council in September 2016. That was then also appealed to the Minnesota Court of Appeals and also upheld by the Court of Appeals. In April 2017, SIGA LLC applied for a rental license at the property. That rental license application listed SIGA LLC as the owner and Sigita Kapaka as the owner and shareholder of the limited liability company. Due to some overlap in the contact information between the previous and the new owner, including the email address and phone number, housing inspections requested an affidavit from SIGA LLC indicating whether Mr. Capex retained any ownership interest in the property. In June 2017, Sigita Kapaka supplied an affidavit stating that SIGA LLC was the owner of the property and that she was the sole owner of SIGA LLC, and that Mr. Capex had no interest in SIGA LLC or the property. In September of 2017, housing inspections responded to SIGA LLC and the listed proposed rental contact on the application, Melissa Cathcart, indicating that they could not process the rental license application without additional information regarding Mr. Capex's ownership and interest in the property as well as the proposed management company. Staff's concern centers on the fact that much of the information regarding SIGA LLC is connected to Mr. Capex, including the management company, PO box, and phone number. Following the receipt of a revised rental license application from SIGA LLC later in September 2017, housing inspections also received an email from Mrs. Cathcart, the proposed rental license contact, in October of last year,
indicating that Margot's Capax is the owner of Minnehaha Lofts LLC, which was involved with the proposed management of the property. In October of 2017, Housing Inspections issued a director's determination of noncompliance to SIGA LLC and the proposed property manager, indicating that the property did not meet the rental licensing standards in Minneapolis Code of Ordinances 244-1910, specifically Standard 19, which is the good cause standard. And the denial of the rental license application was based on Mr. Capax retaining an interest in the property and his ineligibility to obtain a rental license due to the previous revocation action at 3324 23rd Avenue South. I'll note that the property has been continually advertised for rent as a short-term rental on Mr. Capax's hosting site, minnehahalofts.com. Despite the lack of a valid rental license, the property has been found to be occupied on several occasions and has been placarded by Housing Inspections. Formal notice of denial was sent to Sagita Kapaka at 5420 44th Avenue South and to the proposed rental contact in November of last year. That denial cited the good cause standard as well as licensing standard 13, which prohibits persons with previous revocations from obtaining new licenses. And at that time, the owner and licensee were given 15 days to file an appeal of that denial. Sagita Kapaka did file an appeal of the denial in December of last year, but did not include the $300 filing fee. Ms. Kapaka was given an extra 10 days to pay the fee and did not, and so an evidentiary hearing was not conducted. So the recommendation from the city and the findings of fact prepared by the attorney's office were requesting denial of the license. Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Magrino? I think you noted that in a fairly detailed way. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, if you could just stay close. This is a quasi-judicial rental license denial hearing. Is the owner or the owner's representative here today? Is anyone with the ownership or owner's representative here today to represent their case in front of the council? Seeing that no one is here, as the owner or owner's representative, I am going to move to approve the staff recommendation and deny the rental license at 5420 44th Avenue South. Are there further comments or questions on the chair's motion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. We'll move on then to our second quasi-judicial public hearing, which is item number 8. Thank you, Mr. Magrino. This is the order to raise and remove 2946 Taylor Street Northeast.
Madam Chair, if I might address this matter preliminarily, I've had the opportunity to speak with staff prior to the hearing and also the property owner in this matter, and I think it's that a potential resolution may have been reached. My understanding is that the owner is now prepared to demolish the structure himself as a licensed contractor, and I believe that there is an agreement in which this committee could move to adopt the staff recommendation, but to stay that recommendation on for a period of 45 days on the condition that the owner completes the demolition in a lawful and compliant manner. Certainly staff and the owner, I believe, are here and could address the matter more fully if you would like, but that is the terms, or those are the terms of the potential resolution for your consideration.
Are you Mr. Murphy?
Yes, ma'am.
I think we should hear from Mr. Murphy, and I'm also interested, Mr. Fossey, did anyone speak with Councilmember Reich?
Madam Chair, I'm unaware of that. I doubt, since it was the discussions just recently took place, but I believe Ms. Keller could address that.
Okay. Ms. Keller.
Hi, Chair Goodman. Yes, Councilmember Reich has been apprised of the proposal.
Okay. So perhaps, is the owner here?
Yeah.
Okay, why don't you come up here?
Hello.
Hello. Can you state your name and address for the record, sir?
Jeremy Charles, 201 3rd Street, Northeast.
Okay. And so you've agreed that you are going to take it upon yourself to demolish the fire damaged property?
Correct.
And why will it take 45 days? Why can't you do it next week?
It's what was proposed to me.
Given the lengthy history and issues here,
30 days would be plenty.
30 days would be plenty.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, even if we had several We do have to do some work with the counter, with the permits counter, as far as just a plan to tear it down, which may take a week or two at most. But
Okay.
30 days would be plenty.
Okay. I appreciate you taking the time to be here today. I'm
Yeah.
sorry there was a fire at your property and
I didn't own it. I just recently, I purchased it when it had an order to demolish, just trying to do the best thing with it. And it's become apparent after I placed this appeal that the best thing to do is to take it down and
build a brand new duplex.
yeah. Well, I think single family, maybe a duplex.
You think single family though? would
Well,
be
I
best.
think the zoning is such that the duplex is non-conforming actually.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Great. Okay, but you're going to do something with the property. Tear
Yeah,
down
build
the
new.
house, build new.
Yeah, we'll work with, I've spoken with these gentlemen about, I'm going to have a structural engineer look at the foundation. And if we can keep the foundation itself, we'd like to build off of that. But if we can't, we can't. So
Okay.
we'll start by tearing the house down.
Well, good for you for showing up today.
Yeah,
Sounds
thanks.
like you're going to do something good with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Fussy, then what would the motion that you would, I would assume the clerk is going to ask us to open and close a public hearing. So perhaps I should start with that.
Well, Madam Chair, this is a quasi judicial hearing and not a public hearing per se, so there would be no requirement to open
Okay.
or to further open the hearing. The motion, if I could, I guess, advise what the terms would be from my understanding here is that there would be a motion to approve the staff recommendation, but to stay it for 30 days on the condition that the owner completes the demolition in a lawful and compliant manner.
Okay, on Councilmember Fussy's motion, as outlined by Joel, I don't know that I could repeat that, but we'll take his motion as the chair's motion. Is there any discussion or comments or questions with regard to that? Okay, on the language as suggested by our attorney, Mr. Fussy, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Again, thank you for your cooperation and being here today.
Thanks.
We'll then move on to our discussion items, starting with item number 24. Ms. Barhelgen, welcome.
Thank you. I'm here today to recommend 10 applicants to the Minneapolis Workforce Development Board, and 5 are returning and 5 are new applicants. And I have several here that would like to introduce themselves. I'll provide just a few minutes of background and then have them introduce themselves and then stand for questions. The Minneapolis Workforce Development Board is made up of 21 individuals. Members serve 3-year staggered terms, and they're leaders and key decision makers within their organization or their business. They include business owners, executives, as well as agency and program directors. The Federal Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act mandates that a majority of these board members are from the private sector, and that it also includes a balance of both large and small businesses. The remainder of the board's membership includes labor, representatives from education, economic development, and other areas. The board provides a variety of functions to support the workforce development system in Minneapolis. For instance, the board identifies labor market needs throughout Minneapolis and identifies programming to address the needs. The board also leads efforts to engage employers to ensure that workforce investment opportunities align and support economic growth in our city. And additionally, the board competitively selects providers of workforce services. The CPED Employment and Training administers workforce programs under the direction of the mayor, city council, and the board. And the board provides oversight for these services for low-income individuals in Minneapolis, adults, dislocated workers, and youth. And the board also oversees the services at the Minneapolis Workforce Center. So I'm here today to present a few. There are a few applicants that would like to introduce themselves.
We would be honored. So perhaps you could introduce each of them?
Yes.
And they could just speak a little bit about themselves, if
Sure.
that's all right?
You want to come up? I'll have you introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Hillary Martin Resnick. I'm a Senior Vice President and Chief Administrative Officer of UCare, located on Stinson Boulevard in Northeast Minneapolis. I'm also a resident of the Lyndhurst neighborhood.
Great. Well, thank you for being here today.
Hi, I'm Doug Flateau. I'm the Executive Director of Working Partnerships, which is the nonprofit of the Minneapolis Regional Labor Federation, and I'm a resident of the 10th Ward.
Thank you, Doug, for being here today.
Good afternoon. My name is Ibrahim Noor. I am the manager for Minneapolis Workforce Centers, both the South and the North offices.
Thank you for being here today.
Good afternoon. My name is Anthony Williams. I am the manager for Minneapolis Adult Education.
Thanks, Anthony.
And I think that's it for people that were able to attend today.
And then,
Where's it? Oh, yes, Tashida, if you want to. Oh, okay. All right.
So perhaps we had a long conversation about trying to get exactly the right people to serve on this board, and especially to represent kind of a diverse point of view for people who are seeking these kinds of services. Maybe you could just give us a rundown just overall. There's a lot of women on this board, for example.
Sure.
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there are 16 local workforce development boards in the state, and we work really hard at getting a diverse representation from a variety of industries. Right now, we have our current slate of applicants and current board members is 33% women and 52% people of color, and it is I'm pretty sure the most diverse local board in the state.
And then in terms of their backgrounds, we have people from financial services, health care. Can you just kind of go over what that looks like?
We work hard at getting a variety of businesses that represent the diverse economic sectors of Minneapolis. So they come from healthcare, finance, manufacturing, construction. So it's retail. So we're looking at employers and who they hire. We're looking at people with influence for hiring Minneapolis residents, people who and companies that want to work hard at maybe changing hiring practices or being ambassadors for that kind of work.
Great. Are there any questions for Ms. Barhelgen? Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I just wanted to take a quick moment because we do have Tashida here. He is a business owner in the 4th Ward, a very large employer, and has the Metropolitan Transportation Network, which you may often see MTN buses around the city. I'm proud to have that business in the ward and proud to see you representing on the council. So thank you.
Further comments or questions? I'm going to move the recommendation of staff. I want to note that this is a major board or commission for us to make appointments to. We don't actually kind of sit in our chairs and tell staff what we think they should do as it pertains to workforce. This is a board that actually gives their expertise to us, and that's why it's so important. I don't think anyone here, even those who know a lot about this, like Councilmember Cunningham, are not really in the same position that the members of the workforce board are to give real life on the ground examples of how to work within their communities for their communities. We hadn't paid a lot of attention to the makeup of this board for a long period of time and found out it's pretty impressive. And with these appointments, we have now found out it's even more impressive. And I want to thank all of you who serve and are going to be serving for doing the work to help people in our community find good living wage jobs. In the end, we'll never be able to build enough affordable housing. We need to get people's wages up. And we need to make sure that people have an ability to have living wage jobs in our city. This workforce board is a leadership component of that ecosystem. I very greatly appreciate your service, and I thank you for being here today. All in favor of the appointments to the workforce board signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Thank you, Ms. Barhelgen. And then we'll move on to item number 25, which is a presentation on StepUp Youth Employment and Training. Good afternoon.
Hi, I'm Anna Peterson. I'm the director of StepUp, and I'm here to give you an update on StepUp. But I also brought with me my team, Jeremy Lundborg, Nina Robertson, and I invited a lot of StepUp interns. Raise your hand if you're a StepUp intern.
That's great.
Makes it easier for me to come talk too when they're all like, if you want to see StepUp, look behind me, okay? So what does what does hope look like 10 years from now? It's an equitable and thriving economy. It's a multicultural workforce. It's a competitive talent pipeline. StepUp, as you know, is the City of Minneapolis's youth employment program. We support historically underrepresented youth in Minneapolis who are ready to navigate a professional world. Yesterday, we had nearly 1,600 interns start their jobs all over the city. 64 of them are here at the city, and some of them are here, as you see. Each year, our interns speak about 30 languages and are born in about 30 different countries. This is the kind of diversity that builds multicultural and culturally fluent workplaces. These are the future leaders of Minneapolis. Our interns collectively will earn about $3 million in the next 9 weeks. The City of Minneapolis pays wages for about 850 of those interns who are 14 and 15 years old. The 14 and 15-year-olds are placed in community agencies, churches, nonprofit organizations, and parks. And we ask these organizations to coach and mentor those interns and give them that foundational work experience. Those 14 and 15-year-olds often can't get a job anywhere else because of the child labor laws. The Minnesota Workforce Center helps us closely to place these interns and to coach the supervisors and interns throughout the summer. When our interns turn 16, the child labor laws open up. And then we ask the private and public sectors to pay the wages to hire our interns directly. Each year, we have about 600 interns who work directly for these employers. Achieve Minneapolis is our partner in recruiting these positions from these employers, as well as training many of our interns. And here's a little bit about how the jobs break down. This is 2017 data, or 2018 data has just begun. So you can see U.S. Bank is a huge partner in the private sector. The City of Minneapolis is one of the largest public sector employers. And then we have a number of small private and nonprofit employers. And then the orange is the subsidized positions. Those are the positions that the city pays for to give that foundational experience. So at a time in our city when we have an enormous equity gap and a shocking workforce shortage, StepUp is the solution to both. We're at a point where we can't do it alone. No one organization can solve for this. Government can't do it alone. The private sector can't do it alone. Education can't do it alone. And the only way we'll move forward is united. StepUp is that backbone that supports and brings all of those businesses together toward a common goal, to build and strengthen our future economy and the talented youth who will power it. This is our 16th summer with StepUp. We work closely with community partners like Achieve Minneapolis, Project for Pride and Living, the Minnesota Workforce Centers, through DEED to support thousands of Minneapolis youth and to deliver one of the country's leading youth employment programs. But StepUp is not the same program as it started in 2003. In fact, it's not the same program as it was just a couple of years ago. And I want to share with you some of the innovations that our team has been working on in the past few years. So we start by doubling down on our supervisor training. What we've decided is to go deeper into cultural fluency so that we can be more sure that when our interns walk into those offices, that they are welcome in those workspaces. And so we do that by requiring supervisors to come to training, by starting hard conversations that might be uncomfortable, and to trying to do what we can to train those supervisors in ways that will extend well beyond those StepUp internships into their workplaces as well. Another area that we've been working on is we completely rewrote and redesigned our curriculum this year. We listened to our Youth Advisory Council. We made the curriculum project-based and youth-friendly. We also, something I'm very proud of, we aligned our StepUp work readiness training with the Minneapolis Public Schools Career Readiness Seminar. So every youth who is 16 and older who goes through the StepUp curriculum automatically gets this half-credit career readiness seminar on their transcripts. Now that half credit doesn't seem like a lot, but it's the prerequisite for them to receive work experience credits for their work experiences. And in 2019, we're going to expand that, now that we've got the curriculum side right, to include those work experiences, helping the youth to bridge the gap between their work life and their academic life, it is the same, right? We know that they go together. But we didn't stop there. To align our curriculum, we're taking ninth graders this year who are off track for graduation. And we know if you're off track in ninth grade, the statistics of you actually graduating are much lower. So we're taking ninth graders who are off track, and we're partnering curriculum in algebra and English to their StepUp internship. The curriculum is designed specifically for this cohort. It's a pilot this year. We have 2 classes, 1 English and 1 algebra. And these youth are going to earn those credits while they're going to their classes to, again, get them back to 10th grade, closer to on track, earning money, earning skills, and being closer to on track for graduation. If this works, we think it will, it has so far, we'll expand this for ninth graders into 2019 as well. Over the past year, we've worked with the talented team from Pollen Midwest. It's a storytelling agency and communications agency in town. They led some extensive research and focus groups, community conversations about StepUp, and based on their findings, we're making some exciting changes to how we communicate StepUp to help unify and clarify to students and employers in the community. Most notable of these changes is the way that we've infused asset-based language into all of our communications. It breathes an energy and youthfulness into the way that we talk about StepUp. And then last but not least, systems integration. So we do all these very exciting innovations, but we work on really boring cost-saving innovations too. And in the past 2 years, my team of 3 have worked with IT, payroll, and HR to completely digitize our totally antiquated paper system for timesheets and for onboarding employees. We onboard about 1,000 interns onto our payroll system every year, and it was all paper 2 years ago. Every 2 weeks, paper timesheets coming from 70 work sites, and then we would walk the stack over. So we've completely digitized that and saving enormous amount of staff time, data entry, reducing human error. Every dollar we save with those kinds of efficiencies, we can put into wage dollars into interns' pockets. Okay, let's move on to our budget. I'm almost done. This is our StepUp budget. About $1.5 million of this money goes to wage support from the city of Minneapolis to the interns. Another $1.68 million that's not included here is the employer paid wages. $1.6 million is what the employers pay in wages every year, and they employ the interns directly. And lastly, I'm going to give you a new sneak peek of our logo, and thank you for your attention. I handed out, you have a handout of our new language that we use to talk about StepUp, so you should have that with you. And I want to invite you to our StepUp worksite tour, July 17th in the morning. You'll get an email and invitation for it. And then also to our end of summer celebration in August, on the 16th of August in the afternoon at the Guthrie. And my staff and I are open to questions if you have any.
Are there any questions for staff? Councilmember Gordon.
Thank you. I have one question, but first of all, I just want to thank you for being here and let you know how I admire the StepUp program so much. I want to give a little tip of the hat to R.T. Rybeck, our former mayor. This is really something that he started and got going, and it's so wonderful to see that it has a life of its own, and it's identified very much with Minneapolis's, and the businesses embrace it, and I think it's really a valuable program. My question has to do with proving its value over the long term. I have a hunch that if we compared some kind of control group with people who had the StepUp experience, there'd be some differences in their trajectory. But I understand it's difficult for us to find the proof or get that evidence. I would love it if some institution or research arm or the University of Minnesota or St. Thomas, somebody who said, we're going to try to do this and track this and follow it. I know we sometimes hear back from former StepUp interns and see where they are. Have we got any more data to go on in terms of graduating from high school or going to college, what kind of careers people have if they went through StepUp?
Okay, thank you for your question. We've been working with our partner Achieve Minneapolis and a grant that they received from United Way for the Social Innovation Fund to do an impact study with the University of Minnesota. They've been, we just closed the 5-year grant. So they've been looking at the impact for about 5 years. and they are taking that propensity matching. They're saying this youth did step up, this youth could have done step up, kind of looks just like this youth in like data terms, and didn't do step up, and how do they fare?
When do we get to see
and
it?
one of the key findings a couple of years ago was this odd statistic that step up youth did better on their math assessment tests, their standardized tests in math, which is something we didn't expect. The actual impact hasn't been as compelling as we thought it would be in this particular study. They also could only go back 5 years. They couldn't go back to the 2003 group based on user data. We'd have to track down everybody and have them sign a form saying we could use them for research purposes, right? So it was only a 5-year look back. We will continue that impact study to see what we can find. We also have a new alumni network called Connect that was also started by R.T. Ryback over at the Minneapolis Foundation to try to pool together all of these amazing stories that I hear. I'm walking down the street, people say like, oh, are you from StepUp? And they'll tell me their story. Happens all the time, but we want to have like a collective way to track that information. So we're getting there. I don't think we're where we want to be yet.
So is this, if I may,
Yes.
is this impact study that the university completed, is it available online? And can we see it?
I have it, like in my email. I just got the final copy about 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so
But
it is
since I
very
had
new.
all of our interns starting, I haven't even read the whole thing yet. It's about 75 pages, but yes, I can share it with you, absolutely.
That would be great. It might,
Mhm.
I'm sure there's some insights. And then if we do have a lot of data, we can start looking at, well, what kind of step-up program had the biggest impact and what things
Mhm.
seem to be more successful than others, or
Yes.
other things that could help us make decisions about it too, even if it doesn't reveal all the wonderful and amazing impacts that we know it has anyway.
That's right. Yes,
Thank
you.
Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I love StepUp. I have been a huge supporter of StepUp since I began working here at the city. I've worked very closely with Anna. We've met monthly, I do believe, to be able to touch base about what's going on with StepUp. She's very humble, but I have to say that under her leadership, this really has become a national model. I've been to other places for conferences, and people are like, oh, you have StepUp, right? You have that youth training program. They know about it in other cities. It is a model. And to take this national model and then even deepen it and expand it, I'm so happy to see this and grateful for all of your work. There are a couple of things. I want to name that Fu Lee, who is the state representative who represents my ward at the state legislature, is a former StepUp or intern. I also want to share and echo, it's a really big deal, this credit recovery aspect of it. It's a really big deal because you can have young folks who make it halfway through their senior year before they find out that they are not on track and they don't have enough credits to be able to graduate. And so this gives young folks the opportunity to do some credit recovery and then to hear even about the algebra and what's the other class?
English.
Yes, okay. And so to have that as well, those are the credits that matter like the most in terms of graduating. And so that's really amazing. The last point that I want to make is that the number one indicator of future workforce success for a young person is early job experience. And so as a council, it's really important for us to be intentional about supporting good youth internship programs and youth career experience programs, because then we are setting up our young people to succeed. So when I see how many Northside young folks are a part of this, it makes me so grateful for the work that, particularly as a Northside council member, I feel really grateful because you are helping to bridge those gaps, particularly around the labor shortage. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I just have two questions, or a question and a comment. I'm just wondering kind of if we've thought about or focused on college internships or internships for students that are in post-secondary two-year programs. Often it seems that there's a lack of internship opportunities. We're doing really great with youth and high school students, but have we thought about what we could or should be doing as it pertains to college students? That just seems to be a missing piece of the gap. Maybe it's not because you've thought of it already.
Sure. Well, we have the Urban Scholars Program for college interns here at the city.
But only like
So-
35 people get into that.
Correct. Yes. Yeah, it is smaller. So I do see an overlap there. We meet with the Urban Scholars team. Our team meets with their team regularly just to share ideas and see how we could expand. I think that I've got a lot of ideas on how we could, blow this up and expand it out. I think that that coupled with me focusing on what I meant to be doing, right? But I do think that there's an opportunity for college internships. There's a lot of internship programs around, so I think that there's an opportunity for alignment with maybe what's out there and creating what's not out there, and it's worth looking into to see like where's the gap and then filling that in.
And then I'm just wondering, former Mayor Ryback always talked about an alumni network for
Yes.
StepUp. I'm wondering, is that happening? And have there been any, fruitful results of that? Just that kind of networking that could happen for alumni of the program.
Yes, he created an alumni network called Connext, and it's an alumni network that, as a user, it looks like the StepUp alumni network, but it's actually an alumni network for all of the internship and youth workforce programs in the metro. So if you're in Genesis Works, you can log in and it looks like the Genesis Works alumni network, but it runs all collectively. And what that does is it shows us a little bit about dosage, I like to call it. Like you can suddenly see the StepUp intern who was also a Wallen Scholar, who also did Brooklink when they lived in the Brooklyns. And so you start to see the collective impact of like how many youth had touch points with all of our programming. They also at the Minneapolis Foundation have brought employers into this. So employers are a part of it to say, we hear a lot from our employers, like, I understand that I'm investing in this intern and I may not get that intern to be my employee someday. It's more of a collective, but they still want to then come back and say, no, I want to hire them in 5 years or, when they're old enough to have that permanent position. And that's what part of the Connext network does, is it brings all the young people in one place. There's a job board, they have events, in-person events. So it's building. That started about a year ago. So we're building on that. And for StepUp, it's been huge. We have 26,000 alumni.
That's great.
So it's I would need a staff to create an alumni network for my program, right? So for him to have created this has been a real boost for StepUp Alumni Network.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your report. I guess I would ask, since there's so many StepUp interns here, if there are one or two of you that would like to get up and say something. Please, how about we'll take two? If there's two people who would like to say something, we would love to hear from you. Everyone's so polite. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. My name is Bolo Gulana. I am a graduate of South High School, and I've been in StepUp for 3 years. And I would just like to say that this program has been so helpful. Like, I've been able to work at US Bank, I've been able to work at Fairview, and because I'd like to become a doctor, I worked at Fairview, obviously, and I was able to do like shadowing and like look at surgeries, like something that I probably would have never been able to do without this program. And like now I'm working at at the city of Minneapolis, working with the mayor, with my friend. I'm blanking out right now, but without the program, I don't know what I would be doing. I'd probably just be working at like a restaurant or something, and not to put that down, but I want to experience more, and I've been able to experience more with StepUp.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here today. Is there anyone else who'd like to get up and say something? Come on up. We'll take both of you too, and then we'll close this out. It's okay, we can take both of you.
Hello, my name is Destiny Raleigh, and I have been with StepUp. Well, I've did training with StepUp for 3 years now, but I've actually worked for StepUp for 2 years now. Last year I was in a Discover program, and Achieve and Discover, they're two different programs, but overall I can say both programs really enlightened me as a person. Like just the training alone, they teach you, networking is important and your workplace etiquette is important. And it's like I never really thought about it until I actually was in a workplace where it really makes me a better person. Like I had spoke for the StepUp celebration last year, and I wanted to say that, like I said last year at the celebration, I was saying how, it doesn't matter where you come from. Step Up really takes you from any type of environment and really shows you like no matter where you come from, you can better yourself as a person. Like I said, I didn't have etiquette like that. I didn't really know how to be in a workplace, but then they just teach you and they be patient with you. They teach you, yeah, this is how you act. And I wasn't bad or anything, but it's like I wasn't bad. I wasn't, like out there. But it's just like, be yourself, but be a professional yourself. And I really appreciate Step Up for that. It really taught me to organize my life and how to, put myself out there, how to communicate. Like I said, networking was a really big part of Step Up really teaches you networking is a really big part of progressing yourself and advancing yourself out in the workplace, no matter where you go. It's like always put yourself out there. That way people know who you are, people will remember you, and you can really build on opportunities from that. And I really appreciate Step Up for that. So,
well, thank you for being here today. And then we'll take the last person can you guys disconnect the program? Maybe just, thanks.
Well, there's been a lot of people who said, I'm not good at this. Oh yeah, right. There's been a lot of people who said a lot of impressive things, on things, and I've been working Step Up last year. I'm working Step Ups this year. So far, it's been good for me. And, I think what Step Up is an opportunity to sort of suffer to some extent. Let me explain. You know how when a caterpillar is in a cocoon, it just crawls in there. You imagine it's not a pleasant experience. I'm taking the metaphor from Lost, by the way. Well, when the caterpillar gets out of the cocoon, it becomes a butterfly. What I think Step Up is, to a large extent, it doesn't just teach people all the semantics of a job. It doesn't just teach people all the literal office culture. It teaches people how to deal with these types of specific situations, how to get in these types of situations. And just like you can't really expect someone who hasn't swam 100 feet before to swim a mile, it's hard for a lot of people who haven't had even a job without Step Ups back behind you to get a job without steps back behind you. I probably stated it wrong. I feel like Step Up's main grace is that it allows people to work for themselves. It allows people to actually do things. It's not one of those programs where, let me think. It's not one of those things where you just do nothing. It's not one of those things where it's like we're just going to do things. You have to fight, and that fighting, more than maybe even the paycheck, is what's valuable to me. That fighting teaches me to grow, and that fighting's what's going to lead me to be a future member of the society. And it teaches me what I can do and how to do it best. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you mind telling us your name, young man?
Morris Lindner.
Nice to meet you, Morris. Thank you for being here today.
Sorry, I'm not good at this.
Well, so we very much appreciate your report and all of your hard work. This is a receive and file item. I appreciate the conversation and the questions, and I will call on Councilmember Fletcher before we receive and file.
Thank you. I just wanted to add my gratitude for this program. I feel very lucky to have a Step Up intern in the Ward 3 office and also an urban scholar, and we're taking on a project that we would not have been able to do if we didn't have that we wouldn't have had the bandwidth to do. And I'll just say that I think it might be a little bit hard to measure the impact that this experience will have on our Step Up intern, because she's such an impressive person. I think she would have been very successful whether she worked for us or not. But I'm very hopeful. She's headed on a track to be in marketing, and we're giving her a chance to get out and talk to businesses in our ward and figure out how our ward can connect better to businesses. And I can certainly imagine that the experience, and I think both of the people working in our office are getting a chance to work in government before they go into the private sector. And I think that's a really valuable set of perspectives, whether they ever use it in a formal way or not, whether it ever adds to their income earning potential or not. I think there's a lot of good that comes out of these experiences. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to talk about what a positive I think it's been for our ward office, and to wish everybody here who's starting their summers a very productive and fun and educational summer. Make the most of it, get a lot out of it, and do some great work. Thank you.
Could you move to receive and file?
I'd be happy to move to receive and file.
On the motion to receive and file, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item has been received and filed. We'll move on to our final item. And Mr. Terrell, it's going to be hard to beat that, so maybe you could, there is a written report. Perhaps you could just stick with the highlights. Unless you have some business owners here who are going to talk about their work, you're not going to be able to outdo the youth.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I could have Bill Gates here and I couldn't outdo the StepUp. How encouraging it was to see that. So we will be brief with this report. It is, as you indicated, by the way, Jim Terrell with the Business Development Group in CPED. It is a file and receive report. We are, without small business members here, without slides, very proud of the things that we were able to do with our small business lending programs in 2017. You have a summary in the background analysis of the various kinds of financing programs that we are actively using in business development. Clearly, our 2% loan program is the workhorse. Of the 41 loans that we completed in 2017, 37 were under the auspices of the 2% loan program. But there's a common theme really to all of them, including the businesses that we've chosen to highlight in our loan portfolio summary later on. We're able to assist businesses with leasehold improvements, with the purchase of equipment, and with aspects of financing that are more difficult to obtain conventional financing for. While we didn't make any alternative financing loan programs or didn't close and book any in 2017, that's an exciting program that is available for individuals who, because of either personal or religious beliefs, choose not to accept interest, but could accept and will accept a rate of return. One of the things that we want to do with this program is expand the number of partners that we have. I think only we have 3 or 4 on the books as compared to over 20, 25 of our 2% lending bank partners and other partners. So we have some work to do there. I did want to highlight very briefly our homegrown small business loans. There were 2 that were made. Punk Rock Labs, a woman-owned business that started in 2010. Gourmet dairy-free cheese is their product. And so it's an exciting website to visit. Obviously, Councilmember Cunningham was excited about that. And so there are stories behind each of these, and we won't take the time today, but to the extent that we can share those, we do. When we approve the loans, we send council members in whose ward the businesses reside a little summary, and we'll continue to do that. We're proud of the other one, Smoke in the Pit, the safety loan that was made, business health and safety loan. This was a business that was able to make improvements to their smoker and get it compliant with zoning and other ordinances. And so rather than an adversarial mode, this specific program was able to help a business to come into compliance and to stay and grow in Minneapolis. And then lastly, thanks to the hard work of my colleague who presented earlier, Becky Shaw, we had won through the Trillium BTU program, another partnership with the St. Paul Port Authority. This coffee shop at the corner of 29th and Johnson was able to install solar panels, and interestingly enough, in the shape of the initials N and E. I hadn't taken the time until earlier today to look at pictures of the solar panel installation. So aside from being a fun story, again, as Ms. Shaw mentioned in her report earlier, some of these energy-related programs allow our businesses to save money, become more efficient, more profitable, and create and retain jobs. The leverage mentioned in the portfolio summary, there are 2 figures cited. Rather than read to you what's already there, I did the calculation. That means with the 9.5 plus million that we were able to leverage, that's $4.62 for every dollar of city funds that we were able to leverage in private sector investment in these companies. And very often, these loans in their entirety wouldn't happen but for our portion. If a business needs $100,000 to make a business work or to make the expansion work, and the bank is only willing or able to lend $50,000, it doesn't work because they have an inadequate amount to do the deal. Very often our matching loan is the difference in the business being able to open or being able to expand. The businesses highlighted, I again won't read them, but the common thread It's for the purchase of equipment, the purchase and/or improvements to buildings. And we mentioned earlier, leasehold improvements are very difficult to finance. So it's one of the areas where, with our subordinate lien on whatever collateral we can have and our flexible terms and the lower interest rates, we're able to make possible financing that would not be available otherwise. We don't have charts or graphs to put up, but along with the report, there are some charts, some exciting statistics. The number of businesses owned by both men and women of color, the number of businesses owned by females is very exciting. Again, we are aware through the access to capital endeavors of the fellowship that David Frank and I had the opportunity to participate in, that minority-owned and women-owned businesses very frequently are locked out of some of the sources of capital. And so when our programs can reach that many women-owned businesses owned by persons of color, we're very happy. We expect some next steps in terms of our programs to bring before the council in a future cycle a number of changes, improvements to our small business loan programs, probably within the next 2 months or so, but as I said, a cycle in the future. So even though it's not quite as exciting as StepUp, we're excited about the things that we're doing with our small business loan programs. So I'll certainly ask that you receive and file this, and I'll stand for any questions that you would have.
Are there any questions for Mr. Terrell? Councilmember Gordon.
And maybe this is some information you can even bring back at the upcoming meeting, because I understand we're going to look at this again. I appreciated the graph that showed the distribution of the loans throughout the city. It did look like North Minneapolis didn't have very many, and although it had a couple. Yeah. And it also looked like potentially we've increased the number of loans that have gone to people of color, but there isn't any trend. So it'd be interesting to see if there's trends, and also if we have a goal of what we're hoping to accomplish in terms of that. You know, how we sometimes have targets and those interests, and we're certainly all about closing disparities and addressing historical inequities here. So we want to make sure that we're doing that with the small business loans. And I have one more question too. I don't know if you want to respond to that at all.
Very briefly, Madam Chair, Councilmember Gordon, yes, while we may not have numeric goals, we certainly have aspirational goals, and many of the programs that we're looking at making changes and improvements to are specifically designed to reach to those gaps and those participants in the marketplace that haven't had access to capital. And so everything is around those two themes: filling gaps and creating or tearing down the barriers to access to capital for disadvantaged business owners.
And so maybe some historic data would be good to get in the future. And my other question was, do people default on these loans very often, or how is our track record on recovering our investment?
Councilmember Gordon, an excellent question. I don't have specific statistics, but anecdotally, when I took this role on about 1.5 years ago, one of the first things that I wanted to do in dealing with the participation loan programs is to review all of the files of all of the defaults and to see what patterns we could see. There were so few of them that it was a waste of time. We have very, very few defaults, and we credit some of that to the very structure of the participation loan program, where we have relationships with banks that do the credit analysis, that do the servicing, and perfect our collateral and those types of things. And then the payments are made to the banks ACH or wire the payments to us behind the scenes. So we have a beautiful structure that borrows the skills that our bank partners have and lets us use our skills to assist businesses that might otherwise be overlooked.
Well, wonderful, and I do think it is an incredibly exciting program, comparable maybe even to StepUp. And I appreciate that. And I think it's important that we talk about how little risk it really is to us and how much benefit that we get from this effort.
Yes.
Thank you.
I might mention, Councilmember Gordon, one other thing to further answer that, because of the excellent work of my colleague Andrew Dahl, who is either still here or was earlier. We are seeing more and more reports that we are going to be able to build both on the immediate previous year and a trend analysis that you referenced earlier. And so as we continue to work with him and his team and the IT team with the things that they're doing around our new systems, we expect to be able to deliver more reports, more analysis, and find more ways that we can be more efficient.
Further comments or questions? Councilmember Cunningham.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you so much for this presentation. I was just hoping that you would explain a little bit more about why there haven't been that many loans that have been made to business owners in North Minneapolis. If you can explain what maybe some of the barriers are.
Councilmember Cunningham, thank you for that question. We think that a lot of it has to do with other aspects of the access to capital model that we're building on. Very often, the businesses have incomplete business plans. Certainly, we have our BTAP program, which assists very much in the creation or perfection of business plans. Inadequate access to the knowledge of how business plans, marketing plans should be produced. And so the loan is almost the end of the process, and we have to find ways to assist our businesses in our challenge communities, and especially North Minneapolis, earlier in the process. And we are working on that, working closely with BTAP, working closely with the I-Team in other programs that we can bring before the council that will help tear down those barriers, not just access to financial capital, but knowledge capital and social capital as well.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you touching on the various forms, particularly of capital, because a lot of times we look at just the financial capital of it, but if you don't know what to do with that money once you get it, if you don't have the knowledge, and if you don't have the connections to be able to build upon that, just the loan is not enough. So thank you so much for touching on all that.
Further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'm going to move to receive and file this report. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That item is approved. Seeing no further business before us, we are adjourned.